We've been talking about Roki Sasaki, the Japanese starting pitcher phenom, one of the top pitching prospects in the world. He is expected to be posted this winter. Where will he land in Major League Baseball? It's always our pleasure to have Kyle Glaser back with us on the show, formerly Baseball America. Great resource for us on all things Padres and Major League Baseball. So, Kyle, as always, we appreciate it. Let's just start there. How do you see this process playing out in terms of who are going to be the quote-unquote serious suitors for Roki Sasaki?
Well, the fascinating thing about this situation is all 30 teams are going to have a shot. Because Roki Sasaki is still subject to the international bonus pools, he's limited in what bonus he can get. And it's going to be a figure depending on whether or not teams acquire a certain amount of international bonus space. It's going to be no more than $10 to $12 million. So that being said, you look at the Yankees, the Cubs, the Dodgers, the Mets, all teams that have done a lot of scouting and signing of the top players out of Japan in recent years. But the Padres, Giants, Mariners are also going to be in as well. Teams that are also active in Asia. So every team's going to have a shot, and that's what makes this process so interesting and so fascinating.
Kyle, what's the scouting report on Roki Sasaki for people out there that might not have seen him pitch yet, or they don't know much about him? Is he really that special?
The stuff is certainly that electric. It's a 97 to 100 mile an hour fastball with life and movement. It's a splitter that is absolutely ridiculous. It comes out of the same slot as his fastball, so hitters don't know it's coming until it's too late. He's got a really, really good slider as well. Throws plenty of strikes. Command could be tightened, but that's true with a lot of young pitchers. And he's 6'3", 200, and he just turned 23 years old. He's already just exceptionally talented, and he has room to get better in terms of just fine-tuning his command, adding more pitches, getting a little bit stronger. He set a Japanese record with 19 strikeouts in a perfect game a few years ago. It's swing and miss stuff that just makes you say, wow. Things with him are just, again, refining that command and control a little bit. And also there are some injury concerns.
Kyle Glaser with us right now on Jon and Jim. I guess some people would say, why now when someone like Yoshinobu Yamamoto got over $300 million because he waited until a certain age to be posted? We've seen Shohei Ohtani. Obviously, he didn't, and that has worked out beautifully for Ohtani as well. So what makes this the right time for Sasaki? What are the pros and cons?
It really is just about him wanting to come over to Major League Baseball. So he asked to be posted after last season too, and his team, the Chiba Lotte Marines, declined to post him. He's now asked a second year in a row, and Chiba Lotte's general manager in a statement said this was about, doing, basically his wishes. And in the process, Chiba Lotte loses out on a lot of money. If they had waited to post him until after he was 25 years old and can come over as a without the international bonus pool restrictions, he probably would have signed for a contract equal to, if not larger than, Yoshinobu Yamamoto's $325 million deal, which would have meant a posting fee upwards of $50 million for Chiba Lotte. Instead, he's going to be limited to, again, depending on teams and which team it is and how much bonus pool space they acquire, $10 to $12 million max, and then Chiba Lotte is probably looking like a $2 to $3 million posting fee. So this is about doing what their best player asked, as opposed to anything financial.
He's not even posted yet, but we know the connections that he has here in San Diego with Yu Darvish and AJ Preller, and then we know the connections in LA with Yamamoto and Ohtani, his teammates for the World Baseball Classic in Japan. Does it feel like when he gets posted, the two front runners are the Dodgers and the Padres, or do you think that there's another team out there that you could see him theoretically going to?
The Dodgers and Padres certainly make a lot of sense for a number of reasons, but I think it would be a mistake to say it'll be only one of those two. The Cubs are a team that is very, very active in terms of scouting in Asia, building relationships with players, and devoting time, energy, and resources to signing these players. We saw that with Shota Imanaga and Seiya Suzuki the last couple of years. Mets and Yankees as well are two teams that have signed some very, very prominent Japanese stars in recent years and put a lot of resources on the ground there too. So at the end of the day, this is going to come down to more or less who makes the strongest recruiting pitch, just as it was with Shohei Ohtani when he came over a few years ago. And when you have teams like the Cubs, Yankees, Mets, Dodgers, all of whom spend considerable time scouting over there, know him, he knows them. I think they're all going to be in it, as well as Padres, Mariners, Giants, Red Sox, who also put in a lot of time and effort over there.
What's going to matter, Kyle, in that pitch? Because the Padres have obviously pitched some of these high-profile Japanese players before. I think they've been considered, but clearly they've come in second place or worse previously. I'm thinking about Shohei. Obviously, there wasn't a DH at the time, or Seiya Suzuki. There have been others. I don't know if there's anything we can say specifically about Roki Sasaki, but do we know what he might be looking for in a pitch from a major league team?
It's all speculation at this point. It really is just going to come down to personal preference. And, with most top Japanese superstars, they play it pretty close to the vest. And so at this point, it's just going to be about, for whatever team matches what his preferences are, they're going to have an edge. But, what his preferences are, only he knows that. His agent knows that. We just have to see. But generally speaking, we have seen the strength of relationships play a big, big factor in where Japanese players sign. One of the big reasons Shohei Ohtani signed with the Angels, in addition to, the AL being able to DH, but his relationship with Billy Epler was a big reason he signed with the Angels as opposed to another American League team. So because this is a recruiting pitch, more or less, it's going to be about where does the player feel most comfortable? Where does he have the strongest relationships? And ultimately, where does he see himself having the most success?
Is he viewed as a guy from day one that could be, not front of the rotation, but I mean, stuff wise, he has got front of the rotation type stuff. But from day one, is he viewed as a guy that can help a team immediately in a big way?
Absolutely. He's someone that as soon as he comes over, will be in a major league rotation and has a chance to make an impact. He's very similar, speaking strictly in terms of where Shohei Ohtani was as a pitcher and a pitcher only coming out of Japan. Sasaki is very similar in terms of both had fastballs, upper 90s, had devastating splitters, really good sliders, command and control need a little bit of refinement, and some injury concerns. When you look at Ohtani's first year, he was really, really good with the Angels. He wasn't, elite, but he was really, really good. Had some injury issues. And then when he got on the mound 2021 to 2023, after a few years of development, getting stronger, adding some other pitches, he did eventually blossom into one of baseball's best pitchers before unfortunately getting hurt again. So this kid just turned 23. He has a chance to step in right away and be electrifying. And what's so enticing is he still has room to get better too.
Kyle Glaser with us right now on Jon Jim. Switching over to some free agents that are coming off seasons with the Padres. Jurickson Profar obviously had a very nice season considering the contract he was given in 2024. We've seen Ha-Seong Kim obviously have some success in the major leagues over his 4 years with the Padres as well. What do you expect the markets to look like for both Profar and Kim in free agency?
Yeah, Kim, there's always a demand for shortstops. Now, look, he's not coming off of a very good year offensively, and he has, injuries. So those are complicating factors. At the same time, I do expect him to land a multi-year deal somewhere with a solid average annual value. I wouldn't expect anyone to pay him, $20 million a year over 7 years or anything, but multiple 3-4 years and $40-50 million somewhere in there. I think it's very possible just because there's always a need for players who can play shortstop and play it at a high level. Jurickson Profar is going to be interesting. We've seen the market for corner outfielders not be particularly robust in recent years, and he's someone that has flourished in San Diego and struggled elsewhere. I actually think his market's going to become one of the most fascinating to watch, just because he's, again, corner outfielder. He's only really been successful in one place. How teams, measure him is going to be fascinating to me.
For this offseason, it's not like last offseason where Preller had the big trade chip in Juan Soto and in one fell swoop could get a lot of the things that he needed. The payroll isn't going to be like it was in 2022 where he has an unlimited checkbook. Some key free agents that you just talked about there can be tough to bring those guys back at the numbers they're looking for. How difficult of this offseason do you think it's going to be for Preller with, not the Juan Soto trade chip and not unlimited cash to go out? And if he does miss out on Roki Sasaki, like how difficult is it to continue to build on this 93 wins this past year and potentially get further in the postseason, get over the Dodger hump next year?
It's certainly going to be difficult if they're not able to add, just especially in the rotation. You look at losing Joe Musgrove for the year after, he suffered an elbow injury. It's going to require Tommy John surgery. This is where GMs, kind of make their money, so to speak, right? I mean, obviously, when you have an unlimited payroll or you have a big trade chip, it certainly makes your job easy. But this is where a lot of GMs make their bones. It's if when they do have, kind of restricted resources, and how creative can they be, whether it's making trades or finding players on, lower end deals. I mean, look, we've seen the last few years, right? Michael Wacha and Seth Lugo were not big, sexy signings when they happened, and they worked out really well for the Padres. Nick Martinez as well. That was, a couple of years ago. And last year, obviously, we saw, the Profar signing worked out great. Acquiring Kyle Higashioka, who was an afterthought in that Juan Soto trade, turned out great as well. So this is where he's going to have to be creative, and the entire Padres front office staff. But given they've done a pretty good job the last 2 years at finding those players sort of, outside of the top tier, gives you some confidence.
Kyle, final one for me is, would it be abnormal for a manager to have a longer deal than the general manager? Because Mike Shildt is now officially signed through 2027. I think at last check publicly, AJ Preller was signed through 2026. Would you think that Preller would be lined up with Mike Shildt, or is it that Mike Shildt has a deal that goes longer than his general managers?
It's not that uncommon. It certainly happens, and it's just a matter of, individuals when they sign, what their market for their services is, how many years it's going to take to line them up. I wouldn't read too much into that. It's just individual negotiations and timing. It's not that uncommon.
Kyle, always appreciate the time. We're looking forward to this offseason. Again, Roki Sasaki will be posted at some point. We'll see where he lands in Major League Baseball in 2025. As always, we appreciate it. We'll do it again this winter, all right?
Thanks, Kyle.
No problem. Thanks, guys.
All right, Kyle Glaser, again, formerly with Baseball America on the Roki Sasaki market.
The more we talk about Roki Sasaki and hear about Roki Sasaki,
more I want him.
I want him now.
Yeah, we need him.
Need Roki Sasaki in a Padres uniform.
Yes, it
needs to happen.
Yeah.
It's not even it needs to happen now.
And if he ends up with the Dodgers, the show ends. So Thanks for listening.
So AJ, if you're listening,
if you don't like the show,
then exactly. If you don't like the show, I understand. But let's get this thing done now. All right.
Let's get it done.
Let's get it done.